welcome to Kelly and Wrighty. Liverpool finally crowned champions of England for the 20th time. A 5-1 win against Spurs confirmed the inevitable with 4 matches to spare. Wrighty is here as always, and we're also joined by former Liverpool midfielder Danny Murphy is here, and of course Glenn Murray is with us as well. Wrighty, look, it's been a long season for Arsenal. With the Champions League, with the Champions League still to play for, can you be magnanimous in your congratulations?
Yeah, but I've always been magnanimous about Liverpool and the way they've played, the way they started the season. Everybody's talking about how easy their fixtures are, but the momentum they got
the same fixtures as everyone else.
Absolutely, Carol. You can never, in this league as well, you can't say to a team, oh, we'll see what happens when you start playing this team. And that when Liverpool started so well and got the momentum, and then the players, you know, they were very fortunate with the injuries, but the players... They were players were brilliant.
But I think that we've talked about this before. This idea that they were fortunate with injuries is not necessarily a fair one.
You have to give credit to the sports science
department. That's one of the reasons that Arne Slot was brought in.
Yes, exactly. And so they've got all that sorted. And in the end, with me, with Liverpool, I don't dislike Liverpool. I didn't dislike Klopp. I don't dislike the fans. Obviously, I dislike the situation because we haven't won the league. But it could have happened to a nicer team, especially once they didn't do it. Didn't have the fans with the COVID. To see Liverpool fans... and like celebrating like that with like when Jurgen left, he was singing Arne Slot. That was so touching. Yeah, it was nice. It makes you feel good.
But we were talking earlier. If you love football as a fan or a player, it's hard not to get carried along with the emotion of that day. I mean, for me, Liverpool. For you, Kelly, it means more. It brings memories. Going with my dad when I was a kid and all that, but. Watching Newcastle win the League Cup, even though it was against Liverpool.
Remember West Ham in there when West Ham won the league?
Even yesterday, right? You know, we were talking about the Arsenal ladies, that comeback, the smile on their faces, that amazing euphoria they felt. If you love football, that's what you're in it for.
I think when you hear Anfield in full voice yesterday when they've won it, that touches any football fan, doesn't it? Because that's ultimately what you're all after.
I think also as well, a lot of those fans, because of the COVID experience. We'll never see Liverpool win the league and win the league at Anfield.
Of course, yeah.
They've just had a day to remember for the rest of their life because we know how football is. You don't know when the next one's coming.
Absolutely, exactly.
You don't.
So the last time Liverpool won the league at Anfield, not the last time they won the league, because obviously they won it in when it was the second half of that season was when Chelsea beat Manchester City. In 1990, when they won it previously, they won it away from home, and then the time they won it at Anfield was a win against Spurs as well. Yeah. So it was just one of those little bookends that you sometimes get.
Yeah, it is, and also it says if try and get Spurs at the latter end of your season if you're going for the cup, because like going for the Premier League, because there's a good chance you might do it. But like,
well, you tell me North London derbies are difficult. So.
They are difficult, but like what can I say? If you're playing Spurs at that stage of the season, Liverpool going for it and Spurs out of everything. I'm not saying that game would have made any difference at any stage of the Premier League, but I do believe, so all jokes aside, that Liverpool have been. By far, for me, the best team and most consistent team in the league. Their top man in Salah was brilliant this season. It's going to be interesting to see who wins the Player of the Season, but brilliant. Virgil led by example. You know, Gravenberch, the way Gravenberch came at the start of the season, played in that holding kind of like deep defensive.
Right,
just
that was
worked
a
out.
masterstroke from the match.
Honestly, because they would remember Zubimendi.
Yeah, everyone was disappointed when Zubimendi didn't sign. People like Endo, and Jurgen liked Endo, but Gravenberch came as an attacking midfielder, and that's where Jurgen played. Didn't play that much last season. No. Now, he obviously knew him from the time in Ajax a couple of years before, where he did play deeper. And that's Slot's knowledge. But not only that, it's the risk of putting him in there, especially in the Premier League. It's a difficult position to play with the microscope on him, because he only had Endo as backup. He decided, I trust this lad. Yeah. And he's grown in confidence. But he's done lots of little things, hasn't he, that have made...
But he's made players better, huh?
Yeah, he has.
He's brought more out of Gravenberch.
Yep.
Yeah.
More out of
McAllister was brilliant as well.
McAllister has been outstanding.
No, you're right.
For me personally, but when you look at Liverpool right through that spine, goalkeeper, centre backs, they've got a settled centre back partnership that they've had all year. They haven't had that for a couple of years. You look at that midfield three; it's got a nice balance. But what I like, what he's done for me personally, is that I think a lot of managers go into football clubs and they want to rip it all up and they want to do it their way, and that's your ego getting the better of you. Where he hasn't, he inherited a really good squad. Yeah. And he's took those best bits and just tweaked it tiny.
Well, this is the thing. It was a really good squad, but you lose, and just to put that into context, the point that you were making there, Glenn, is you lose a manager who has that sort of presence that Jurgen Klopp does, and you expect there's going to be a transition. From the last time Liverpool won the league, there's been a wholesale changes within the squad as well, including breaking up that front three of only whom Mohamed Salah remains. There's also been big changes at board level as well. Michael Edwards went away and then was replaced and then has come back, and then there's a whole new director of football in there. Very few clubs managed to weather that many changes and win a title in both eras.
Yeah, I think that's why, you know, when people went on about the contracts, even the contracts with the three players, Trent, Virgil and Mo Salah, even that didn't derail them in any way. They even dealt with that really smoothly. And obviously you have to look at FSG and think to yourself, how is that happening? But at the same time, for that to be happening at management level, things to be moving around, and it doesn't affect the team at all. You know, there's no noise coming out of that dressing room. They were trying with Trent, they were trying with Virgil and Salah. No noise came out. They just stayed focused. And, you know, they got the job done.
That's down to Arne Slot as well. He's the one that's getting peppered week in, week out by the press, isn't he? And he handled that so well. To keep those players on board and to keep that squad together, even though there was a lot of, I suppose, uncertainty around it, I think it's a masterstroke.
Unbelievable, Kev.
The point that you made about the smooth transition from Jurgen Klopp to Arne Slot was kind of shown in the way that, as you said, Jurgen Klopp started the singing for Arne Slot at the end of last season on his final day in charge of Liverpool. And Arne Slot returned the compliment at Anfield yesterday.
I don't think I want to say a lot. The only thing I can do now is send my appreciation to Jurgen. So there we go. Jurgen Klopp! Ja, la, 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 la. Jurgen Klopp. Ja, la, 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 la. Jurgen.
That's awesome.
There's two things with that. One is that the players seem very relaxed about him, or are very brave because it's, you know, it's done now. But also that transition, it has been really important. And he also said he's been talking on and off to Jurgen Klopp at times this season.
I think it's important that we appreciate both aspects of it. I've heard a narrative this morning, even driving in, people trying to go, well, it's Klopp's team or it's all about Slot. Klopp's left a really strong squad with great mentality, a winning mentality, if you like. But what Slot's come in and done as well, he's improved players, like you said. He's tweaked little things. They're a bit more measured now in terms of possession, managing games. Even little things like, I mean, you two as strikers, but I was a bit like that when he threw Diaz up there for a while because Jota was injured.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, give Darwin a run, but he obviously doesn't fancy him. Diaz has now scored more goals this season than any other. Arguably, I know Salah's been the main man, but he's been the next one.
Yeah.
I didn't see him as a striker.
No, but
little tweaks.
Yeah. Just, and the thing is that it's the kind of tweaks as well, Glenn, where he's not a striker, but he'll go in there and he will do the job for him. That's what he trusted him to do, and he's done it. Like I say, I think that going back to the when Jurgen Klopp done the singing last time, everybody was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
But now it's turning. And
it could have looked very different at the end of this season if it
really
hadn't gone as well as it has done for Liverpool.
It's very magnanimous of him in his moment. Like you said, he speaks to him and he spoke to him during the season. In his moment of joy, he's making sure everybody realises that Jurgen Klopp is a massive part of what's happening.
And it's Danny's point as well, which is that it's not one thing or the other. It's not Jurgen Klopp's squad or Arne Slot's management. And they're very comfortable with that kind of balance of praise.
And rightly so, because it keeps harmony. But I tell you what, I don't know if you remember early in the season, Man United away game, Slot came out and spoke about the plan on how they were going to beat Man U, which you could argue, looking back now, any plan would beat Man U. But let's not go there.
Yes.
The way he spoke and articulated it concisely and calmly and charismatically, I thought to myself, oh, he knows what he's doing, this fella. Because it's hard in the early stages to think, are Liverpool that good or is it just a good run? But the way he's conducted himself and the way he's been calmly just putting out the right thing, like even with the contract. So I think it's both, I think it's silly to go one way or the other.
Calm, other than at the end of the derby, where Everton got that late equaliser. But I was listening to a lot of sort of fan reaction and fans kind of summing up the way this season's gone. And there was a general consensus that actually that game and that reaction was appropriate for them. They were like, we want you to feel like this about a derby. We want you to understand what this is like. If you're going to lose your temper across the course of a season, do it in that game. That feels reasonable to us.
You know what you have to really also commend with Liverpool is that it's a new manager. He's come in. It's a massive club. No one was expecting him to do what he's done, right? So you'd have thought that it's the kind of place where...
I think they had a less than 5% chance, according to Opta, of winning the league at the start of the season.
So then you look at the players, what he's got there. Even the players, I know the start was with people saying it was easy. Even the players, it could have been very easy for those players at some stage to say, we can have a season off because it's the new manager, he's going to get us out, he's going to get his new players in. He didn't do anything like that. He actually kept the players, and like you said, Danny, tweaked this, tweaked that. Graham Birch came in, moved Diaz in, doing all that stuff, and the team are even more together. They're just as together as you see with a Klopp team.
What's even more impressive about it is brought no one in. No reinforcements in January.
Well, Chiesa, but he hasn't used it.
No one that's really stepped into an...
Will not get their hands on the trophy until that game against Crystal Palace on the last day of the season. Virgil van Dijk has talked about this moment and how he feels it's going to go.
It would be amazing. Very emotional. I think even today, it was an emotional day for me and my family because I think the whole week was quite slow. It takes ages before match day. I think every Liverpool fan around the world probably felt like that. And then obviously it's match day, and then you see so many fans already in red outside, getting ready from early on. And you just want to get the job done. And I'm very, very happy that we did. And when the moment is there that I can lift the trophy in front of our beautiful supporters, then I think I will be very emotional.
Yeah, it's going to be very emotional. Even Mr. Cool may lose his cool at that moment.
It'd be great to see because then people will see what it's about, because you look at Virgil van Dijk, I get Marlon Brando vibes in respect of how cool and calm he is and how vulnerable and at the same time macho he is. But it shows what it means to him. Since Virgil van Dijk's come to Liverpool, remember all that time before, he's talking about the goalkeeper, talking about getting that centre-back, what they needed. It didn't happen, then it did happen for him.
We need a Dutch lip reader for this, by the way.
And then he's come in, Kel, and since Virgil, he's changed everything, the trajectory of Liverpool football.
He's in the conversation as one of Liverpool's greatest ever signings, probably with your dad.
Without a doubt.
Stevie was already there. He has made, the impact he's made on that club is absolutely phenomenal. The biggest compliment you can look, when he wasn't, that season when he done his knee, how bad they were without him. Shows. He was the worry for me if he left in the summer. It's great. Yeah. He's the biggest signing for me.
But we've got to talk about Salah as well. I mean, for me, we witness greatness.
Oh, he's amazing.
Like the numbers he puts out week in, week out. 90 minutes a week. So robust. He's only a slight fella. Never gets injured. Always on the money. I just think he doesn't get what he deserves. The credit he deserves.
I think we're spoilt with him.
Yeah,
because he's done it for so long.
So expectant.
We're expecting to see the greatness all the time. But even Kel's doing an interview where he's saying, listen, I don't play great in all the games, but I know and recognise the moments and when I can have a moment. And I just want to make sure that I am ready for the moment, which is, again, the experience of a striker that knows he's ready to go when it matters.
He's already broken the record for most goal involvements across a season, so goals and assists combined for a 38-game season. He's one goal or assist away from breaking the record for the next one. But it's partially because he defines himself as a winger. I imagine that he's kind of measuring himself by that sort of combined metric. But the one thing that he did say that I thought you two in particular, Glenn and Ian, would appreciate is that he said, well, the thing that Arne Slot's done is, if you relieve me of my defensive duties, then I can perform better offensively. I'll give you more defensively. And then at the end of this season, and there are the numbers.
That's always the conversation, isn't it, right?
But the thing is, you always, even if you don't say it to a manager, you are always trying to find a way to not do defensive. Honestly, you don't want the blame of you didn't track it. If you tracked him there for 5 yards, he wouldn't go there. But if you're Salah and you can get that, the manager says, okay, then go and do it, but make sure you bring he's brought the numbers.
Yeah.
He's been magnificent. And you could no injuries. He looks like somebody that's such good shape. So you can probably see with Liverpool adding more people to that, more players to that, he'd probably still do what he's doing.
Who makes them better?
Who makes them better? Wow.
I think left striker.
Because obviously I think Kirk as if that's the thing. I don't want to take players out of teams, but I think a left back probably. But you're right. I think Nunes.
I think the phone's rich.
They need that kind of striker. Yeah, they need a striker who can do it. Yeah.
He doesn't fancy Darwin. Whether love him or loathe him, the fact is, He's had many opportunities, but he doesn't fancy him.
Yeah.
Well, he had an opportunity in the game yesterday when it was very comfortable for Liverpool, and he was through on goal, and he could have shot but passed, and then it came back to him, and he should have passed but shot, and it just all.
His Liverpool career, doesn't it?
Thank you, exactly. And the thing is, what he should have done. I remember doing analysis on him right at the start, and you see him pace, he can spring, he's got. You know what I mean? Finish with both feet.
Yeah.
You think, it's only going to be a matter of time once it clicks, and then he's doing the same things, and he's doing, and to this point where now you probably have to move him on because he's not going to get it by the looks of things.
I don't think any fan will ever doubt his effort and commitment. Ultimately, right, Glenn, the reality is with goal scoring. I know we've had chats with Gary about it in the past. I think you've either got it or you haven't, and he just hasn't got that natural. You know,
but even when you look at Liverpool's season. He had it when they needed it. Brentford away.
He's come up with some big goals.
Forest.
Yeah.
And but I think when you're paying that kind of money, it's not for a substitute. You're paying that kind of money for somebody who's on there doing it, Glenn. I know that he's, like you rightly said, Liverpool fans will love him forever. He will be loved forever, but he's somebody that if he could have clicked and gone to that next level of taking those chances, we're talking about easy chances as well.
Yeah.
We're not talking about really difficult chances. You know, I saw him score 2 goals against Newcastle, might have been last season or something.
Yeah.
And I thought,
that was his best game.
Right, this is it. And then, you know, it goes back to normal. But, like, again, Liverpool need that person. It's like Torres or Suarez. They need that to go alongside. Something like that.
But as you said, they love him, but they love him for what he is, knowing what he can do and what his weaknesses are. Salah and Van Dijk they love because of what they can do and what they deliver on. And the other player is one who you've already mentioned, Glenn, which is Alexis McAllister, who is a huge fan favourite in terms of what he brings to the game. And they like his name at Anfield yesterday was sung, which probably asked the midfielder about that, but was sung, you know, as loudly as anyone else's.
I feel as though knit it together. He's one of those that you don't always notice, but he makes everyone around him better. And like he's come up with some brilliant moments, some brilliant goals. And I seen a little clip on socials of him on the bench because he got brought off, didn't he? And he's won the World Cup. He's won the biggest trophy in the world, and he won the Premier League. And he kind of just pulled the towel over his head. Everyone else ran on the pitch, and he just had a moment.
Yeah.
So that just shows what it means to him.
The lads love him as well, I've heard. I know a couple of the staff at Liverpool, and they rate. You know, when people overly speak of someone, how lovely he is. But the great thing about him is he's obviously technically brilliant. But I'm not sure people... Well, if you watch Liverpool enough, you'll see it. But for someone not physically brilliant in terms of his speed or his size, he does a brilliant defensive job. You know?
Is he a live player rather than a highlights player? Or like he's not necessarily always the man in the centre of the screen?
I think so.
When I was with him at Brighton, he would spend a bit of time out, and I would always think... I'd look at his stats and I'd think... Surely, like I can't see what you bring. Do you know what I mean? Even though when he's got the ball, dictates playing up on the toe, but he has got that like that kind of Argentinian element, that little bit of nastiness that you need just in the middle of the park.
You know when Endo, remember when Endo had that little spell in the team alongside McAllister? I thought McAllister got even better then, and I think that now with Gravenberch as well. I like where McAllister is, where he can be in that position, especially if the ball comes, he'll just smash it back in. He's got the capability to click one over the tops here. He's one of those midfield players, Dan, like yourself, who's got the capability of when it's in close proximity, you can get the ball into those little plays. He can do that. Yeah, he can do that.
He is.
In those places of the pitch, Kels, that last third.
Yeah. And he's been crucial for Liverpool. And we haven't even mentioned the goalkeeper. He missed a large part of the season through injury. Praveen Kelleher came in and replaced him. And it was almost as though the injury to Alisson had been forgotten because Kelleher did so well. But he is another level.
Yeah, but Kels, again, Liverpool have got a goalkeeper that's come in and done the job. So it was seamless. To the point where people weren't even talking about Alisson when he's seamless. Again, brilliant.
Could you just say with the strikers, because it's always interesting for me, because goalkeeper's not my expertise, but as strikers going in on keepers, it feels like he's the best I've seen.
He's big, he stays big.
At one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Because Schmeichel used to be good at it, didn't he?
Yeah, and then he used to do that thing. Yeah, he used to do that thing where he done the cross. I remember seeing Zola.
Alisson seems to stay...
He stays massive.
Yeah.
He stays massive. Sometimes you see goals being scored and you think, I can see space. When you're running, you can't see space. And that's what they do because these angles are so good. And that's what because you're looking to get it past him as quick as you can. But the closer you're getting, the smaller the goal behind him is. And the bigger he's looking in front of you.
He seems to revel in that moment more than a striker. It's usually a striker's moment, a 1v1. It's your chance to score a goal, but he seems just as calm in it, doesn't he? And the way he just comes out, swats it away. For me, he's the best in the Premier League. And he's in the conversation best in the world.
Yeah.
So who improves Liverpool? We touched on this a little bit earlier on. What do they do? What do they need over the summer? Because there have been conversations that this is not a vintage Premier League winning side, and yet Liverpool are further ahead on points than Manchester City were at this stage last season. Even if City had won their game in hand, and that it's not their responsibility to make sure that there isn't a 15-point gap to second place.
Some will depend.
But there's still been conversations that they need to strengthen.
Yeah, they do. Some of it will depend on who goes. And if a big fee come in, they might. There's talk of that. Jota's injured a lot.
Yeah.
But they definitely need a striker because Darwin's going to go. I think Wright right in the full-back area, and I think a centre-half.
I think a back.
And what about? There's obviously a situation with Konate. He's only got a year left. Right. So what they need two.
It depends if Gomez stays or Kwanzaa, but they need a more senior one, a more reliable.
Dan, do you think that if they're going to get one of those to stay, it'd probably be Kwanzaa, and then you get one that's maybe a little bit more experienced than Kwanzaa who's waiting, so that Kwanzaa can still continue to develop.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you look at it and you think, Konate, I believe, will stay. I believe Konate will stay with Brett, and then they'll bring another centre-half in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously,
you've got right back.
The thing with
likely to leave.
So then they might need another one there, maybe not back up for Connor or something.
The thing is, the way Slot's talking, it sounds like Conor Bradley's going to be given but they need some competition in that area. Yeah. That means to me that they'll go left back, centre forward. Midfield's probably the strongest area.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
One of the great moments from yesterday that we just caught a little bit of there was Mohamed Salah. So he did it twice. He took all season. Mo Salah has taken pictures for his Instagram and his social media of a selfie with him and the goal scorers. So he got that on the pitch yesterday. But when he scored his goal, he took a phone off somebody. Did you see that? He took the phone off somebody in the crowd and took a selfie with the whole of the Kop behind him. And then later on, as we saw there, he took a selfie with him and the players with the Kop behind them as well.
I missed a lot doing the semi-finals yesterday. Because
everybody... All the little details, isn't it?
Where I was, everybody was talking about the Liverpool game. I thought I was missing out.
But do you know what? On occasions like that, it is the little details that make, and there is. That's the one after Mo Salah's goal where he took the
Do you think
picture.
He's looked... this ain't a dig at Jurgen. He looks happier this season. He's
been relieved of his defensive duties.
No, but he does. Body language and energy, and even when he misses chances, he's not.
He's been very charming in interviews as well, and sort of laughing and joking.
He did. No, it's not done. At the end of the day, it's whatever happened to him and Jurgen's relationship at the end. You'd have to think that the manager of that level and a player of that level, there might have been some clashes, but at the same time, he does look happier. And a lot of it will come down to the fact that he's been relieved of those kind of responsibilities. But then again, he's saying relieve me of those because I want to go and do this. And he's done it.
Danny, you've been going to Liverpool since you were a kid. Yesterday was like... No, I was at Anfield yesterday. It was like nothing I've seen in decades at the ground. From 10 o'clock in the morning, ahead of a 4:30 UK kickoff in that game, it was... incredible. Fans were queuing. They closed the roads off 4 and 5 hours before kickoff. It was just absolutely mobbed. There were flares, there were fireworks, even though it was the middle of the day and you couldn't see them. And Arne Slot, talked about this. I side on a little balcony filming this, and you couldn't see the road. All you could see was the smoke getting darker and darker red as the flares were lit, as the players came along. And it was just an incredible moment.
Honestly, coming into that atmosphere.
You're not going to lose. I can honestly say, I've been very lucky as a young lad seeing Liverpool win a league at Anfield. I've seen cup finals and I've played in, 4, where outside, Dortmund was ridiculous, down at Millennium, pre-times, but I've never seen anything like that. The only thing compared that to maybe out in Madrid, that was... in the European Cup final, but that was a special.
Can I go one? Like you're talking about, like Argentina with Boca Juniors, and River Plate. You know, when you're
like
coming
that.
in, that's the energy.
Yeah.
That's the energy I saw from that.
Yeah, it's a smaller city and it's a sort of tighter enclosure. But the Liverpool fans turned out in their thousands for that one, and it made Arne Slot emotional.
The only moment I was emotional today was when we arrived at the stadium. To see what it meant for the fans, what it meant for these people. For us to have a chance of winning it felt really special, but immediately it also felt like, we still have to do it. But I think everybody who was inside that bus felt if the fans are with us like they are, then it's impossible for us to lose this game of football. And then during the game, after the game, it's been incredible how the support of the fans were and how our players played, and special to be part of this day.
A fan's word, last, Danny. You mean you've talked about it as an analyst, as an ex-player, as someone who's been part of the club. Just from a fan's perspective, what does that title mean?
Well, I think it means so much to those who've not had the privileges of some of us. That creating a memory for life and following your team around the country to have those wonderful moments and experiences with 60, 70,000 other fans. And I think for those Liverpool fans who have seen so much success, it's probably triggered a lot of memories of years gone by and created those wonderful moments. That's what it did for me. I actually, when I saw these celebrations, I didn't go all times when I've been lucky enough on that front. I went back to me and my dad, because he's not here anymore. I know I get a bit emotional about it, but that's where it took me. And I think that must happen to everyone. Yeah. Because you start with your dad or your brother or your mum, whoever it is that takes you to the game. And that's where it took me. I was just gutted I wasn't there, honestly, I really was. I'm jealous of you. Yeah.
It was a very, very special moment. Like you said, there was that real marriage of nostalgia and optimism for the future as well, taking the history with them and moving on, they will hope.
Congratulations. Pretty wild today. You had to do it the hard way as well, actually.
Yeah, by going 1-0 down, and that's true. But I think the moment when we arrived with the bus, everybody could feel that we were never going to lose this game. The fans were so supportive before the game, during the game, that even when we were 1-0 down, you could feel that this team and these fans were able to get this one over the line.
You are the first Dutch coach to win the Premier League. That must make you very proud and will make your country proud.
It's special, very special. To be the first one is something that will never change. And that is very special, especially at a club like this, where it's not that we won it 9 out of 10 times in the last 10 seasons, but we did win it twice in the last 5 seasons.
Of course, last time you won it, you experienced what it felt like to win the Premier League, but you didn't experience what it was to hear winning the Premier League, because there was nobody here. Very different today.
Yeah, completely different. The feeling is unbelievable. To play also home and be able to win it by winning the game is incredible.
A year ago, Jurgen Klopp stood out there and started singing your name. I believe that you've done something similar in return. Has he actually been in touch with you and said, well done?
There is a message from him. We haven't seen it yet. So many moments in this season, the two of us had either WhatsApp contact or we spoke each other. So I think he showed last season when he said farewell what a kind of human being he is by introducing me the way he did. And that, of course, helped, but the thing that helped most was that he left the team behind that is able to win a trophy.
I'm absolutely certain that there are lots of individual prizes coming your way at the end of this season, Golden Boot and Footballer of the Year and all that stuff. But how much more important is it to do it with the team?
It's incredible. I would say, like, winning the Premier League and be that involved and have the impact for the team that, like what I did, is incredible. That's also what I had the conversation with the boy the other day, and I told him this one for me personally will feel more special because the goal that I'm involved and also Jurgen is not here and the other players that I respect a lot and I appreciate their time with us. But you be able to do it with a new manager, with a new team, it just shows that that's what I'm capable of.
We started the game off decently. Like I said, we got to the front, but apart from that, I thought we we were creating some moments and really didn't give them too many openings. But we obviously conceded a couple of really soft goals for us. And once they get in front, especially with this atmosphere today, it was always going to be hard for us to claw that back. And yeah, that's how it proved to be.
Just about the manager Arne Slot, the job that he has done in his first season in English football, in his first season in this football club, is really remarkable.
It's incredible. People think now it's going to be easier, but now it's going to be difficult because also other teams will try to catch us next season, and the job will be harder for him. But yeah, it's a moment we need to enjoy now, and we think about next season.
I think a great Liverpool manager, when he won the league, was asked, "What can you do now?" And he said, "Go and win it again."
That is something we're definitely going to try next season. But first of all, we're going to enjoy the last few games we're going to play. And then we will, for sure, be really good next season again.
It's difficult to know where to start, actually, because, as Steve Wilson said it a couple of times there, the whole thing has been remarkable. But every aspect of the club has been so impressive this season.
Well, he's the one that's guided the team to this amazing day. He's done a wonderful job. He's charismatic, he's warm, he's articulate. I remember the game after Man United, the way he spoke about the tactics, the game plan. So much to admire about him. He hasn't tweaked too much, but there's been subtle differences, which we'll talk about. The players have taken to him, the fans have taken to him. I mean, he's surpassed all expectation from even the most ardent Liverpool fans and pundits. Mm-hmm. I never thought they're going to win this title this season. He's been absolutely terrific and deserves a lot of credit. And as I said, the balance between small tweaks and leaving the good things in place has been brilliant.
He's a very impressive individual, isn't he?
He is. I think we probably sat here 12 months ago and said, what's going to happen after Jurgen Klopp leaves? There's going to be a massive drop-off. You know, Liverpool could be in a bit of a reshuffle job for a few years. We've seen, obviously, at Man United what's happened there, going through many managers and many players. But this guy's come in, he just said in his interview there, Jurgen Klopp left, but he left his squad behind, and he had left a really strong squad, and he's just gone and gone, you know what, I've got me a fresh voice in the changing room and changed a few things, as we mentioned, and got it spot on.
You've both been in successful squads where there have then been changes. There are so many really good pieces in the papers today. Jonathan Northcroft wrote one about Jurgen Klopp's final speech in the dressing room was, what an opportunity for you players. The old guy is leaving. You've all got to prove yourselves for the new guy. What a speech by him, and what a mindset for the players to then take on.
Well, top players will embrace a new voice, especially an intelligent one. But it's more credit to Klopp for the environment that he set and the mindset he gave those players, because their character's always been there, their resilience. There's been so much to admire in that respect from the Liverpool squad. I do think that after not really making any... Well, they made the one signing in the summer. There was a little bit of negativity thinking, how can this squad push on? But he's had the best defender in the Premier League, fit, flying, leading the team. The best striker in the Premier League this season in Salah has been amazing. And I think he's had the best midfielder in Gravenberch as well, who's been Slot's masterstroke.
Right.
We'll talk about different aspects of what he's done, but Gravenberch, playing in that new role, I mean, Slot will have seen him play in that role for Ajax. He did play there for them, so it's not a completely new position, but it's new in this division. And he was under the microscope. He didn't play much last season. There was a talk that Klopp didn't fancy him. But all aspects of his game, we saw a great pass there. Running with the ball from a deep lying position and getting your team up the pitch is something he does really, really well. And Slot obviously knew that. And he's embraced it. He's given him the confidence to play every week. He's not looking over his shoulder whether he's going to be in the team. This against United was probably epitomised the type of interceptions, brilliant at that. Picking the right pass, because obviously he's used to playing higher up the pitch more recently. So therefore, he's good when he gets higher up the pitch, but you have to take responsibility to get on the ball. Constantly looking for it, always knows where people are. And as you can see, this little bit, that's what he does better than anyone in the Premier League at the moment. So the pass didn't come on.
Is he more old school as a midfielder? I mean that in the most complimentary way, i.e. he can do everything.
Yes.
He's not pigeonholed as we've tended to do over the last decade, 15 years.
Exactly that. Well, you expect midfielders... I know from changing a mindset of being an attacking midfielder to a deep-line midfielder how you really have to concentrate on your discipline, especially defensively, which we just saw there. It's really hard when your natural desire is to get past people, go forward, to actually go, now I've got to sit. I've got to be the one that stays. Now, he has got flexibility with McAllister at times, don't get me wrong. But to come into a team when you're under the microscope, everyone was disappointed when they didn't sign Zubimendi. Is he going to be good enough? Why haven't we signed anybody? He grasped the opportunity and he took it. So been brilliant.
That also goes back to Slott's preparation before taking over, which was plenty of conversations with Klopp, which they've continued to have, but also Slot not only watching Liverpool games, but having the ability to watch footage of Liverpool training sessions so that he can then see dynamics, what he might do with certain players. That all comes down to his preparation.
Yeah, preparation's key. I think he was preparing long before he arrived at Liverpool. He really was. And of course, Jurgen Klopp gave him everything he had to pass on. He had experienced players. I mean, let's not forget we had the 3 players out of contract end of the season as well. Yeah. He managed that all season as well. I know 2 of them saying Trent might leave, but that was a problem as well. Well, it didn't seem a problem. He managed to manage that. And I think the personalities within the change of Andy Robertson, Van Dijk, the likes, there's lots of leaders there, Mo Salah. There's leaders within that, and I think he lent heavy on them as well in his first season.
But this spine is crucial, isn't it? I mean,
he left out the goalkeepers there, I might add.
Right.
He went only because I knew you were coming to them.
Okay,
I wanted to give you a bit of...
I hear you.
Well, go on then, do the goalkeepers.
No, I think any Premier League team that wins the Premier League, you need to have a top goalkeeper, the spine of the team, but it starts with the goalkeeper. And I think Liverpool have had 2 top goalkeepers this year. You know, Kevin Keller played 10 games, but this guy, for me, Alisson's probably the best, not only the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, but actually one of the best goalkeepers in the world, if you ask me. 1v1 situations, Mark, he's the best, I would say. He's just so quick off his line, he's so decisive, and he brings that presence to this team. You know, we talk about years gone by, you know, goalkeepers, Peter Cech, Peter Schmeichel, all these brilliant goalkeepers. Alisson is right up at the very top. You know, the reactions, we see this is a double deflection. No right to make this save. Absolutely brilliant save. And he has that presence and he has that calmness within the team. You know, again, it's another brilliant, it's a double save. He makes a 1v1 block again with this chip from Kudos. Watch this for his feet getting back into position. He tips that onto the crossbar, no right to save it. He makes saves that all goalkeepers just simply don't make. And that's the difference for a team that wins the Premier League.
And then if they don't have him, and they haven't had him at times...
Yeah, this is obviously Man City, one of their biggest rivals for the Premier League, and that's a big key moment, for example, in the game, but in the season as well. And watch this for a save. This is... You know, the Premier League wasn't wrapped up at this stage. This was in the middle of the mix of the Premier League. Watch this for a brilliant save from Cuevan. Gets down so quick and not only just keeps it out, he gets it away from danger. And this is the shot at the end today. Van Dijk and the players know how important the goalkeeper is, and there's a special relationship. I think you need that as well from the centre half and your goalkeeper as well.
Just a quick one as well. A couple of other things he's done, I think, which have been key. The Trent Alexander position, where he was so central midfield, much more under Klopp. He's played more as a fullback. He's had more of a balanced shape. And I think, obviously, we've talked before about the more measured approach at times, more possession, managing games, winning games when they don't play, so it's not been as chaotic. They do still have that dynamism, but there's a couple of other small tweaks that he's done.
Just one more on Alisson, and you may have said this to me on the radio, or it may have been Rob Green who said it to me on the radio, I can't remember it, but for all the shot stopping and everything, the key to his brilliance is his footwork. Is that right?
Well, even that save he tipped onto the bar, that's all about footwork. But the biggest and the best thing, a compliment I could give him as well, is his calmness. So when they step across that white line, they know they've got Alisson or Keller behind them, and they both bring a calmness to the team. We've seen other goalkeepers even today, watching the games today, that's a bit panic stations when they don't know what the keeper's going to do. When you're playing behind Alisson, he brings that confidence through the team. He
does.
And then in front of him, and you mentioned they tend to have the best player in the league in every position, but the Van Dijk-Konate partnership has flourished.
Yeah, well, I think no doubt Konate's had his best season in Liverpool's shirt, and that's partly because he's next to Van Dijk, but I think more to do with the manager giving him the confidence to play him week in, week out. Last season, he was in and out a little bit. There was times where Klopp picked Kwanzaa ahead of him, even Gomez at times, and maybe he was losing a little bit of confidence in the fact, you have a bad half hour, a bad game, I'm going to get left out. I mean, you mentioned earlier the first game of the season, he didn't start, and at half-time, Delap had been causing Kwanzaa a few problems, and he put Konate right on, did a great job, and left him in, and his confidence grew. But that partnership with those two is now being talked about. A lot of talk, Gabriel and Saliba, for a couple of seasons now. These two have matched them this season. These two have matched them. And look at the numbers when they play together compared to when they don't. I mean, it really is stark. The only thing, we don't want to be in the same position next summer. Konate's only got a year left, so that needs sorting out.
Yeah, but then one of the knock-on effects for Konate, I mean, look, you have no idea who may be interested in him or what a certain player wants. But once Konate knows that Van Dijk is signed for another 2 years, and knows where that future of that defensive partnership is, that's a bigger sell to get him to sign, isn't it?
But again, it's the powers that be have to make a decision. I would say this summer on Konate, because he has had a brilliant season. You're going to get maximum money for him now. You can't let him run down and go on a free transfer. He's still relatively young. And on the back of a brilliant season, you'd have to tie him down. And Van Dijk as well, you'd imagine he'll be in his ear as well. Like, this could be the start of something major at the club.
And the other player that they've tied down is Mo Salah, who, as Steve said, is likely to win Golden Boot and Player of the Year.
Well, I think his form this season has surprised a few people. Not because they didn't expect him to score goals, but his assist levels have gone through the roof. His fitness looks incredible compared to maybe the season before. He looks happier, I think. I don't know if you agree with that, but when I watch him play, he seems to be smiling a hell of a lot more.
Is his role ever so slightly different, say, because someone like Szoboszlai has gone a bit further forward as a midfielder? Or is his role not far off identical to what it was under Klopp for you?
Well, the biggest difference, I saw a little interview he did where he talked about, he kind of said it jokingly, but he said, Slot doesn't want me to defend as much. And I think any forward player likes to hear that, maybe because of the legs of Szoboszlai, maybe because of Gravenberch. You know, they've got such good legs in the team. I just think it's sometimes with a footballer, they find a relationship with the manager that, and a balance in the team that makes you feel really good. I think he looks super happy and content, hence him signing a contract. And there's no reason when you look at him physically that he's going to drop off.
He said he wants to break the record for the number of goal involvements in a season, which, if you're a kind of grumpy old pundit, might annoy you because it's only become.
I think he's talking about me.
I mean, grumpy and old could apply to all three of us, to be honest with you. It's just the pundit thing I don't fall into. But it's a bit more of a new thing, goal involvements. But we've gone back through the stats to create the record, and he is on course to break it.
No, I think he mentioned in his interview as well. That's important to him as well. As Danny says, his assists have gone up this year as well, and of course you'd imagine in the last few games he'll add 2 goals and assists as well, and probably get the top of that record. But what you would say, and Danny mentioned a really good point, Slot has actually said to him, yes, defend at times, but we want you to have your energy and your legs going forward. And there was a period this season, he was unplayable, unstoppable. Everything he'd done turned to goals, and that's when Liverpool really kicked on.
I think it's also worth saying as well, the other forward players have all chipped in. And when you think about another little tweak, giving Slot more kudos here, Diaz played a lot of games centre-forward, and he didn't play centre-forward for Klopp very often, if at all. And that's partly because he didn't fancy Darwin, which is obvious with the lack of minutes. But I also think he played Diaz high. The tenacity, you know, that ability to run with the ball and the different qualities he's got, which has also helped Salah at times. They've had some nice combinations.
It doesn't happen very often, does it, this? But you also have to say, for everybody involved in the running of the club, fair play. Because they identified the right man, they've stayed calm over contract negotiations, and everything has been incredibly smooth.
It feels that way, doesn't it? Feels like they're in really good hands. Recruitment's good. They've now got a super amount of money to spend this summer. I also was amazed they didn't get someone in January just to reinforce, but they didn't feel the need to. It feels like all the decisions they're making, they're getting right. Mostly the manager.
I think he's got charisma as well. He's got a sparkle in his eye. I think the players want to play for him. You can tell that today after the celebrations as well. They're all hugging him and whatever. And even when he's singing Jurgen Klopp's name, they come and spray him with a champagne, whatever. He's got a connection straight away. And you know, Dan, the fans as well, they've taken to him big time. He's a hero already, isn't he?
That today is amazing for so many Liverpool fans who've never had the experience of watching Liverpool win a title. I've been lucky enough to have that experience as a fan when I was a young lad, and everyone used to just take it for granted. Today, there's been memories created for so many of those supporters who've never had that, that experience.
Yeah, simply sensational day for all of those associated with Liverpool Football Club, clinching, as Arne Slot reminded us, their second Premier League title in 5 years, but their first in front of the Anfield crowd. It's the first time they've managed to do that in 35 years, Don. So let's get your thoughts. A hugely emotional day.
It's one of the most emotional football clubs you could play for. When they won the title in 89-90, I signed just after Hillsborough, and it was difficult. It was very emotional. And who would have known then it was going to be 30 years before they then won another title? The way they've done it this season has been first class. Only 2 losses all season, 34 games. They've romped the league. They've been by far the best team. They've been the classier team in the Premier League. And they've done it their way. And they've done it the Arne Slot way, which is just incredible. And even then, when he's singing about Jurgen Klopp at the end, I mean, off the back of Jurgen Klopp singing Arne Slot, I mean, fantastic scenes.
Yeah, absolute class. To have Liverpool fans have their moment today. It was a 5-star performance, yes, but from the moment the team bus arrived kind of in the streets around Anfield, it was an ocean of red. What did you make of it?
It was, look, both of you have mentioned the word emotional, and as a Liverpool fan, somebody that follows Liverpool, they would have watched that and absolutely loved it. The emotions would have been flowing, especially when the game kicked off as well. Just hearing the roar of emotion, the sound. If there was a roof on Anfield, it would have been blown off with that atmosphere today. They created a phenomenal atmosphere. Obviously, going a goal behind was a whole nother situation, but the reaction from the fans was second to none today, and fair play to them.
Sometimes, you know, we can be very insular at times, but when you think of all the fans all around the world tuning in to watch their side win the title, it doesn't matter what time of the day it is. It's brilliant. I've seen some of the scenes in different stuff that I've seen online with the end of the storm and fans over in Brazil, and you know, guys and families out in Norway tuning in at random times to try and watch their team and getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning or watching late at night. It's all scenes like this where the players are celebrating on the pitch and they deserve everything they're going to get and are going to get. But it's the fans around the world that follow and put time and effort in. And emotion's the word, because they put their heart and soul into watching their team. We all do, don't we, as fans? It doesn't matter who you support. But for Liverpool fans tonight, watching their team under Arne Slot do it his way in his first season, I mean, it's astonishing what he's done.
Yeah. Just to echo what you were saying about the fans around the world, I know there are a couple of, in my household, in Cape Town, South Africa, who were celebrating as loud as anyone else. And I guess it does show the global nature of the Premier League, because this trophy, this Premier League title, will be celebrated around the world. As you mentioned, that's the size of Liverpool Football Club, obviously. And those who were in Anfield today would have been up close and personal with it. But we saw even around the streets, people just wanted to be there. And they'll be watching, obviously, through this broadcast, thanks to us, thanks to the pictures that they're going to see around the world. It will be hugely celebrated in Egypt, obviously, where Mo Salah's from, all around the world, absolutely. But what you also mentioned, Don, which I want to touch on, is Arne Slot. I mean, when he first arrived, how many do you think would have thought he could follow in Jurgen Klopp's footsteps by winning the title in his very first season? How many could have predicted that, do you think?
Do you know what? When you look at the team that he inherited, I think a lot of people would have said, well, it's going to be easy for him. All he has to do is just keep everything exactly the same and he's going to romp the league. However, he has tweaked it ever so slightly.
I don't think many of us sat here and said he was going to win the title. No, I didn't. No one did.
Didn't think that. But there's an argument to say, well, as I mentioned, a couple of people would have said, well, he's not got to change much. He's inheriting a winning formula. But we're watching a Liverpool side that's far more controlled. There's not as much carnage going in terms of the attacking presence and leaving themselves open and exposed at the back. They are a phenomenal football side, and one that intimidates every team that turn up to Anfield. Not only do they have to deal with the atmosphere, the fans, the crowd, the noise, the history of the football club, but also as soon as you step on the pitch, you see faces like Van Dijk, you see Mo Salah. You know what impact they have on the team, and they can turn the game on its head in a blink of an eye. And that's where the intimidation factor comes in.
He's right to mention the 2 titles in 5, because many, many legends, like proper legends, the CVGs of this world, have tried to win the Premier League, and it's hard. And these players now have done it twice in 5 years, and some of them have got 2 titles behind them. Some of the youngsters have got every trophy going. So for the lads that are getting there first, the likes of Alexis McAllister and Gravenberch, who's been exceptional, these guys are just like living the dream, aren't they? It's just amazing. You do it at Anfield when you've won 5-1, Arne Slot's first year, in front of your home fans, which you know is going to be beamed around the world. Then you take personal pride in what you've done with the name on the back of the shirt. You're representing the crest on the front of the shirt, and all the families. Then we take into what we're saying, everyone in the city, the red half of the city, then everyone around the world tuning in, billions of people around the world, Liverpool fans tuning in. It's remarkable, and they should enjoy it. They should absolutely love it.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm sure they will. I was just seeing Mo Salah take another selfie in those pictures that we had. He probably took the most famous one after scoring his goal, which takes him to 28 Premier League goals for the season, 18 assists as well. He's now up to 5th on his own in the all-time Premier League top scorers list. It is remarkable the season that he has had, where he's broken records nearly weekly, and he's just been one of the driving forces, one of the standout stars.
And he's getting better and better and better. And the reliability factor about him as well. You know that you can rely on him to get you out of a sticky situation whenever it may arise. And that's why he's so adored and loved by the Liverpool fans, because you know what you're getting from him. Week in, week out, game in, game out, season after season after season. The guy's turning up. Look at the numbers, look at the assists, look at the goals, look at the minutes per goal and assist as well. That's game changing. He deserves the titles.
It's a testament as well to how fit he's kept himself. No signs of slowing down. I would love to be behind the scenes, because we've all watched the Jurgen Klopp side, which was chaotic and amazing. Like some of the fastest flowing football I think I've ever seen in the Premier League. Arne Slot's done it a different way. I'd love to be behind the scenes, because you're looking at a team, barring one or two, that's been completely away from injuries. Mo Salah being one of them, Virgil van Dijk. The majority of these players have stayed away from injuries. So I'd love to know what the tempo's been like at training, because to keep these guys fit and going and preparing them, and you're resting and you're taking on fluids, and then you've got games every 2 and 3 days, it's hard. Physically, emotionally. That's the bit I'm very intrigued to try and understand, what Arne Slot's done to the individuals to keep them being fresh every 3 or 4 days and not having the majority of them picking up injuries.
Yeah, so Virgil van Dijk, obviously sensational. Mo Salah as well.
Best I've ever seen, by the way, in the Premier League, Virgil.
Yeah?
Centre-back, in my opinion. The best I've ever seen.
The best centre-back you've ever seen?
Centre-back.
Oh, that's interesting.
Who else would you mention?
Well, guys like John Terry comes to mind. Guys like Rio Ferdinand comes to mind.
Sure.
Tony Adams comes to mind. You have that conversation and you put Virgil van Dijk in that crop of players that I've just mentioned.
Sol Campbell?
Sol Campbell in there as well, of course, yeah. But in my personal opinion, I put Virgil top.
I think that's another debate for another day. We're going to stick with the Liverpool angle.
I like attackers.
Clearly. We're not surprised. Who would you say in that Liverpool team, I wouldn't say unsung heroes, because I think everyone's had their praise, but who else stood out for you besides those two very obvious leaders in the team?
One of the players that I have admired from afar, Gravenberch.
Yeah.
I think he has been absolutely phenomenal, and he's not an unsung hero, but he's flown under the radar because he just goes about his business and gives the ball to the ball players, gives the ball to the flair players, the guys that are going to create magic. He's breaking up play, he's intercepting, he's winning the ball high up the final third, he's getting back, blocking shots off the line. He's been amazing. And again, he's one of those players that's robust. So he's available, he's ready week in, week out. And you know what you're going to get from him? You're going to get an 8.5, 9 out of 10 from him every single game.
McAllister for me.
Yeah.
Alisson would deserve a mention, but I think McAllister, he's hard as nails, he plays, he scores, he leads by example.
Okay. If I get a vote, it's Konate, just saying.
Huh?
Alongside Van Dijk, defence wins you titles. Anyway, I don't get a vote, it's fine. Time for a quick break now, but in the second part of the show, we'll be heading to...